Alright, you guys, it's been about 2 weeks or so since I've been able to work on the Avion, but I'm going to try and get a little work done on the floor today. Also, I realized the last video, the audio was a little, it was poor quality, and I noticed that when I turn the camera away, it doesn't capture as much audio, so I'm looking into getting a better microphone for when I'm talking to you guys and I'm flipping the camera around. So I'm going to do pressure treated on the floor, and then I'm going to just rip some strips of plywood to put on top of that, kind of in a grid pattern, and then put foam insulation board. And then I'm going to just, like you would sheathe any other house, put sheathing over the top of all of that. I had the neighbor come over with his tractor and some forks and help me move this, but I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to try and talk a little bit louder so you guys can hear what my plan is going to be. So right now, this back 2 feet right here from about this plate back this way. This is where the storage tanks were for the shower and the sink. And that also is what hangs off the back of the truck, because this right here is about 8 foot up to the cab. So these tanks, they're still under there. They're fiberglass, but they're dry rotted. They're just hanging off the back of this trailer right now. I'm going to try and get those off. And I have to build these boxes on the side. Those are going to go flush right down to the bottom of the camper, and then my plywood's going to come up above that, and I'm going to anchor from the outside into my flooring. You can kind of see what the original flooring was here. I peeled a little bit of it up. It's almost just like Luan. It's really, really cheesy. And then there was some foam insulation board here. And then this is the absolute bottom. You can see the bottom of the trailer right out here. So I'm gonna just try and do a little demo, see what's coming up easier, see what allows this camper to kind of hold itself together better if I start from the front or the back. Because if you look here, yep, that's falling apart. So my goal is to try to do the back side first and tie it into the front, get that flush, and then do the rest of it. And because I'm working with a 10-foot section, I'm thinking that the back here, I'll cut this out of one piece of plywood, 4 foot wide, and then do a 2-foot section and a 4-foot section. And then I'll bring in actual full sheets of plywood and sheath it all over. And my hope is that because this back 2-foot section, it's about 2 feet, carrying this way will help structurally keep the back of the camper up. I think that's all I really have to cover for you guys right now. I'm going to start doing a time lapse, and I'll come back when I run into my first headache. We'll be back.
Ran my heart through a chipping mill, sold my soul for rock and roll, gave away all that I could steal, but I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you. Drank my way through a hurricane, thinking about your wedding ring. I've done a lot of real dumb things, but I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you. Well, I should have seen it a million miles away, where stardust brought to life. None of us are meant to stay. One thing about it, I'll meet you at the gate. I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you.
Alright, first time lapse for this episode's done. This aluminum plate that someone put in the floor is giving me a lot of trouble because there's carriage bolts, and I don't even know how they installed the nuts on the bottom of them. So if you could see in the time lapse, I don't know how fast it was, but I was cutting the heads off the carriage bolts. So again, just because the mic's crappy, I'm going to try and speak up a little bit more with it faced away from me. But I've got this part of this tank out. If you look underneath here, it's kind of hard to see. Right there, you can kind of see where daylight's coming through. That tank's just held on with, they're like aluminum nails that are threaded, and I don't know how that tank stayed on there for that long. I'm taking it off in pieces. I think what I'm going to try and do next is cut up and around right up here. Just cut through that. There's nothing structural in here in this floor like there is with the walls in this camper, so I don't care how much of the floor I cut out. I'm just trying to do it strategically, just because this thing is so rickety currently. But once these boxes are rebuilt and the floor is in, it's going to be solid. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and cut around this right here and just lift this out as one step. There's a little bit of pipe left here and here, and then there are these steps underneath. I can't even get them to open anymore, and you can see where this is kind of sagging and buckling. So I think this shifted from being off the back and walking in and out. So plan is to try and just pull this all out as one giant piece, and then I'll put it over there in the weeds. Alright, time for a water break, and gonna get back to it. Alright, just a quick update, because I'm throwing some different ideas around. Danny, my best friend, he's on his way to help me out in about another hour. We're thinking about pulling this floor out. I gotta make one more cut. These carriage bolts are driving me insane. I'm gonna try and cut this out and drop that whole last piece. It'll go right down to the ground. And then this is basically just a 4x8 sheet of plywood with these furring strips and foam insulation board. I'm going to try and pull all this out at one piece, and we're thinking about actually stick framing a wall to put on the floor. So it'll be the 3/4 inch pressure treated, and then 2x2s instead of these furring strips. And we'll get that in there, just because if I sit over here and I kind of wiggle back and forth, you can kind of see that, but GoPro has that Hydro Shock eliminator in it. Just because time is so short, and I actually have school finals that are coming up, and this thing's kind of just laying exposed with no structural integrity to it. I think we might just do that wall framed for the floor, and then that way if I'm driving down the highway and I hit a really big bump, I don't have to worry about this thing seesawing back and forth and getting weak, or just driving down back roads looking for grouse, because this is going to be my mobile grouse camp. So I'm going to try and get this out, and Danny will be here in a bit. I'm going to keep chipping away.
Stand still. Day breaks at the top of the hill. Backstrap from the morning kill. I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you. The lines get distorted, but the message is the same. We were howling at a ghost without a name. Despite what's reported, my love for you remains. I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you. Alright,
Well, I've got most of this tank out. There's a little bit over there. That's not attached to the floor that's coming out, so I'm being a little bit more careful with that. This wall looks very chaotic. This one's not far behind, but I was just able to, let's see if I can get it in there. I was just able to pry this away, so I'm hoping that this will come out like just one big sheet of plywood. It's affixed to that far wall that goes up against the cabin. I'm hoping that I can kind of just wiggle it out, get this thing out in one piece, and we should be looking pretty good. This whole thing, though, you can kind of see that grate's moving. This whole thing is pretty rickety, but after this floor is done, this will be it'll be pretty solid. So I'm gonna try and get half the floor framed when my buddy gets here in a few. I'm hoping that with one more day down here, I don't know when that's gonna be, hopefully next Monday or Tuesday, I'm hoping I can finish getting the floor buttoned up, and then I'm gonna start pulling all this foam down. I'm gonna leave the old wiring up for templates, minus the wiring that I know I won't need. I'm not putting outlets or anything in this. I have a power inverter. If I need to charge something, I'll run off that. And originally I was going to do rough sawn pine in here, but now the more I've thought about it, I think I'm just going to do that 4x8 wainscoting, or shiplap. It's got multiple names. That's white from Home Depot, because in here I'm planning on just having a few lanterns. I don't really want anything plastic. I don't want anything electrical, and I think that white will help cast a lot more light. I also have a new vent that's ready to go inside. I thought I ordered 2 of them. I did it over the phone, and I just got one, so I need to put those vents in at some point too. But I'm going to try and get this one piece of plywood out. I'm going to start a time lapse on a different angle, and then before you know it, Dan will be here and we're going to start framing.
Despite what's reported, my love for you remains. I always kept the best for you. I always kept the best for you. Well, I ran my heart through a chipping mill, sold my soul for...
Alright, so floor's out. I don't know if you could see it on my last time lapse. Believe it or not, these walls, buckling and twisted, those were structural, and I had a feeling that they were, because now this is flush on the ground. I mean, it's on the ground. And that looks hideous. But I mean, what hasn't happened to this thing at this point? So I'm not too worried about it. Get some jacks, gonna lift it up, and yeah. Hopefully once I can get it all jacked up even where it's supposed to be. Start putting the new floor in and anchor it to that, and that'll hold it together. But right above my glove there, that used to be about 1.5 feet off the ground, and now it's flush on the ground. But life's too short. Can't get upset about these things. And like I said, worse has already happened to this, and this is a time for things to fall apart. So do it once, do it right. We'll be back. Alright guys, Dan's here. Positive. Really happy that he's here. We built a temporary wall on this side, and we pulled out one of the fender wells for now. We're about to pull this one out. I'm going to start a time lapse. We're going to use the old floor as a template and carry in a 10-foot section, which you will see on the time lapse.
From the front to the back, tie it all in. We'll bring this back on an even plane. Good level surface to work off.
All right.
There is a man you'll hear about most any place you go, and his holdings are in Texas, and his name is Diamond Joe. He carries all his money in a diamond-studded jaw, and he never was much bothered by the process of the law.
All right, so Dan and I are building a floor. We're stick framing it. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to lift this in. It's a 10-foot section that's going to go the full length. Also, the walls are missing inside here. That 10-foot section is going to come back to here. We're going to anchor it. If it fits, we'll carry it back out. We'll sheathe it, and then bring it back in and anchor everything in together, and that will probably be it for the evening.
And he never was much bothered by the process of the law. Hired out to Diamond Joe, boys, I did offer him my hand, and he gave me a string of horses so old they couldn't stand. I like to starve to death, boys, he did mistreat me so. I never saved a dollar in the pay of Diamond Joe. It was Cone Dodger, and his meat I couldn't chaw, and it kept me well distracted with the wagging of his jaw and the telling of his stories. I aim to let you know there never was a rounder who lied like Diamond Joe. Tried 3 times to quit him, boys, but he did argue so. And I'm still punching cattle in the pay of Diamond Joe. But when I'm called up yonder and it come my time to go, give my blankets to my buddies and give the fleece to Diamond Joe.
All right, floor is framed. We've got it sheathed. This is a mastermind behind all this. We're gonna lift it in. You saw in one of the past videos, it's gonna come all the way back to here, and then we have to actually lift this up and set it down on top. So this entire floor is gonna carry the weight of the back, because this is gonna hang off the back of the truck.
Could mention that we're going to be about 4 inches higher than where we currently are right now. So as this lifts up, it's going to correct over 4 inches of sag is what it's going to correct on top of what we're doing. It doesn't look that dramatic, but it is.
I could mention it, but you just did.
Sorry. Ready for a road trip.
And everybody's wishing to know, everybody's praying, and the troubles in life are not worth saying no. One of these days when you're all alone. wishing for the grass to grow. Oh yeah, one of these days when you're all alone, you're gonna wish your grass would grow. Yeah, one of these days with your eyes wide open, you're gonna see your coffin closing.
Alright you guys, it's me with a haircut and a shave. Last night got a little rambunctious, it took us a little while, and we actually ended up finishing after dark. So today I'm just making a summary of what happened yesterday. So this is what I have left for lumber, which is cool. The sides are off the camper. We just found that it would be easier moving in and out, and it was kind of falling apart after all the demo I did. What we ended up doing, there's some extra plywood in here, but I basically, with Dan, we built a top plate and bottom plate just like we were stick framing a wall. We pulled the layout 16 on center, and then we did a jack stud and a king stud on the end and ran that full length. This is that is solid right now. I don't know if you remember on the last videos, you'd step in and that was sagging and falling apart. It's solid now. The only I still got to build these walls here, and that'll help get rid of all this wobble here. I don't know how much you can see that with GoPro's anti-shock or whatever they call it. Solid. So these aluminum boxes will go back in. The wood will go around. I'm thinking maybe originally I wanted to try to put a dog kennel in right here. I don't think it's really going to fit that well, and it's going to stick out in front of the door. So I'm thinking maybe just build a wall that comes down. This little tiny wood stove is going to go up on top of here, and then just build a little wood box. So basically this whole spot right here is going to be, I got to zoom out a little bit, this whole spot right here will be framed in. That'll be a firewood box. And then of course this side wood's going to come all the way down to here, and then it's going to come up because this will be closet space. I'll show you guys outside, just a little walk around. We were able to shift the whole camper back up on top of the trailer, and I put some dunnage underneath on each corner. I'm going to do that one more time just to give us a little bit more room to pull that up. But next step is build these boxes, put some foam insulation board in, and finish sheathing everything. And then I'll be able to pull all the insulation out and rewire it. And I'm probably going to pull the insulation out and rewire it while it's on the truck. I can get this trailer back to Dan and put it on top of the 7.3. Got to do a little bit more work to this first. I got shocks coming in. The guy that I spoke with that I bought the camper off of, he was a really nice heavy equipment mechanic, and he was saying if you're going to be outside, if you're going to be in snow, don't go with Bilsteins. They don't last that long. Go with Fox 2.0 aluminum housing. And I went over to cpaddick.com. CPAddick is the same people that supply Truck House Guy. I don't know if you guys have seen him on Instagram. He's got a wooden cabin on the back of a 96 or 97 Power Stroke. It's a 4-door long bed, and if you go right to Fox's website, they don't sell 2.0 aluminum housing shocks for a Ford OBS. You go to CPAddick and they'll help you figure out exactly what it is that you need. You measure bolt to bolt, they'll tell you what size is going to fit. If you have a 2-inch lift, a leveling kit, 3-inch lift, 6-inch lift, they'll help you find whatever you need. This truck is just stock. I think the tires are a little bit bigger, but I got to put the shocks in. I've got new gaskets They're gonna go in here just to keep rainwater out. I still have to get this chrome trim piece that's gonna go around because rain is slowly leaking in here a little bit. I got to do new headlights, new running lights, also new running lights, shocks. I do need a new fuel sending unit for the back, but I'm debating pulling this whole bed off and just doing a CM aluminum truck bed, and then doing the weather guard toolboxes, because if I do weather guard toolboxes on here right now, this lip, I'll have to put a 2x12 or something here first so those toolboxes open up and they don't hit this lip. Not only that, this is an IDI, indirect injection. The Power Strokes had a computer and they were, so I'm trying to get my camera to light up. Power Strokes had a computer and they were direct injection. So this truck can still move a respectable amount of weight. It's maybe 15 to 20,000 pounds. I don't know what a Power Stroke can move, but I guess it's more than that. So I'm trying to save ounces where I can, because ounces make pounds. But yeah, that's it. That's where we're at. Gonna try and get this video edited up, and we'll see you guys in another week.